Welcome to this episode of Real Talk with Wally. Now, guys, I have a bone to pick, but this is going to be a very special episode because it falls on Atlanta Black Pride. So you might be wondering what Atlanta Pride is. Atlanta Gay Black Pride in particular. So they have their original Gay Pride, which falls in June, but they also have Black Pride, which is September, and that's Labor Day weekend. So I decided to do a very special video for this weekend because I have a bone to pick. If you don't know, there is a medication called PrEP, and PrEP is an HIV prevention medication that is basically advocated for in the gay community, and specifically it is pushed to Black gay men. So just let's back up just a little bit because you may need a refresher on what HIV is. HIV is a human immunodeficiency disease. So this is the disease that's been out for decades, and it's been really impacting not just the gay community, but the hetero community as well. However, it's got its start in the gay community, and it is prevalent more so amongst the gay community. So that's where a lot of the prevention drive is geared towards. But I had a very interesting experience over this past year, and I have a bone to pick with a few people. I'm gonna call them out. Atlanta, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to figure that shit out. And I'm saying this because I'm part of the community. And so, long story short, just to give you a whole synopsis of the situation, in the gay community, there was a push. I don't know if you watch Pose, but that's a very historical show to watch and a very creative show that you should watch if you want to learn more about the LGBTQ community, but also a lot of those elements about HIV, AIDS, the pandemic. I would say it was not pandemic, but an epidemic that was in the 80s as well as the 90s. And so it showcases that, and a lot of people are dying from AIDS and HIV. Really AIDS, because once it gets into AIDS, it's really limited things that you can do to prevent it. Now, of course, we're 30 years later, so there's a lot of different medication and prevention out there. However, long story short, in the 80s, a lot of people were dying from AIDS, and the medications were very slow to come to the market just because they were trying to figure out the antibodies and what works with the human body and what can prevent it, what can suppress the disease from really overtaking your body. And so there was kind of a cocktail, so to speak, that you had to take a series of medications in order to live, even to survive for years to come. And so years later, I don't know the history of this because I am not a health professional. So just put that disclaimer out there. I'm not a health professional. Like, don't talk to me about this because I don't know. I mean, I know what I know, but seek a health professional and do your necessary research. So, but anyway, maybe about 20 years ago, maybe before then, PrEP medication became very prevalent, and the biggest PrEP medication is Truvada. Now, this PrEP medication is to prevent you from contracting HIV. And so you still have to do your necessary protection like any person having sex should, condoms, doing all of that to prevent you from getting not just HIV, but also other STDs. You definitely need to protect yourself. But anyway, this particular medication is geared to prevent HIV from even, entering your body. Now, Truvada has been around for quite some time. When I became of age, and I probably didn't get on PrEP for the first time until I was maybe in my late 20s or something like that. I was not a very sexually active person, as far as like having intercourse of that nature, during my early 20s. So I really didn't find it necessary, maybe until my late 20s. But I got on the medication for a very short amount of time, but I was very concerned about the impact of that particular medication, because if you don't know, there's a lot of different side effects that Truvada has. The mild ones, it could be nausea, it could be, diarrhea. It could also have impacts to your kidneys. On top of that, bone density is also a side effect of Truvada. So I had serious concerns about that. Now, my doctor told me that because you're not going to be on Truvada long, and because there's other medications that are being developed that are safer, that are more advanced, and by the time you're old and gray, you're going to be on a different medication. Fine and dandy. However, me personally, I had an issue because of my family history. I have a family history of scoliosis, osteoporosis, as well as arthritis. So that bone density thing was a serious concern for me. And I also have scoliosis, which is the curvature of the spine. My spine curves ever so slightly, so I go to the chiropractor, I do my preventative care, but I don't need a medication that's gonna make it worse. So I decided to quickly get off of Truvada. And so during the course of me not being on Truvada, there were times that I did protect myself. There were also times that I did not protect myself. Now, I don't want any judgment here, because listen, the human experience is the human experience, and sometimes we don't do things that are always right and the things that always make sense. We know what we should do, but we don't always do it. I say all that to say that there were times, most of the times I did protect myself, and I just don't have a lot of intercourse anyway, historically. Anyway, there were times I did not protect myself. So once Descovy is the updated medication that is really the advanced version of Truvada. So you don't have, allegedly, you don't have all those side effects that you may have with Truvada over a long-term span, such as the bone density is not really an issue. It's also a smaller drug, and it's kind of a very impactful drug in suppressing H.I.V, but it just doesn't have the same side effects as Truvada. So anyway, last year I went to Atlanta and I got on the medication. Basically, it was just simple. I called somebody up. I said that, hey, I want to get on PrEP, and they'll do like an assessment. They'll do all your labs, run your blood work. They'll also test you for STDs, and also the most important thing is HIV, because if you get contracted with HIV, you're going to have to take a different medication that is not Truvada or Descovy. So they did all of that, got on the medication. I got into a cadence where they would literally ship my medication to my house. It was a pretty seamless process, and I definitely was supportive of how Atlanta handled not just my case, but other people's cases, around the city that need preventative care. So got in this cadence, shipped my medication. Every 3 months I would come in for testing. Really wasn't an issue for a good 9 months, I would say. Maybe 6, I don't know. All of a sudden, here comes March of this year, and they call me up and they say, okay, it's time for you to come in for your testing, your labs. so that, we make sure that your vitals are good, the medication is working, but it's also not impacting your system. So I come in for testing. I just call and just make an appointment out, and I was like, no, I think I called and they said, oh, you can just come in. And I was like, I thought I had to schedule this before, but I was like, okay, whatever. So I go in, do my testing. So they call me back and they say, oh, you had to do prep labs. I'm like, well, what the hell was it that I did? You tested me for every damn thing that I could be tested for. But apparently they didn't, because they got to do anal swab, they got to do mouth swab, they got to do chlamydia, gonorrhea, they got to do H.I.V, they got to do all this different stuff. And then they got to test your blood. So I didn't do the right labs. And so I go in to do the labs, and then I still don't get my medication. And I'm just like, what exactly happened? So I go in to get it rectified, and they all of a sudden can't find me in the system. I was like, why can't you find me in the system? I literally been coming here for the last 9 months. So what exactly happened? So I went there and I felt like I was in the twilight zone. They told me I had to meet with the coordinator and all this other stuff. And so I meet with them and I say I didn't have insurance. And at the time, I think I was in between insurance. I think I was just got on insurance because my previous employer, I had insurance with them, but I had to get a different insurance. So I was kind of like in that transition or something like that. And so they run my credentials and all of my stuff and all of that. And then I don't even know how they got the information. I'm like, they know what I made in my previous job. They know like where I live and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you don't qualify for this. You make too much money. And I'm just like, well, technically I'm not making money right now, but okay, whatever. So all of this happened and they disqualify me for the prep. And I'm just like, well, what the hell was I doing for the last 9 months? And so it's really confusing for me, because I'm like, okay, was I going somewhere else? And maybe I tricked my mind to thinking I was going to this place. It was just like a twilight zone completely. And so they're saying like, oh, well, you had to go to the insurance side because you have insurance. And I'm like, but before you didn't even ask me. You just said that I was like a black gay man living in Atlanta, and you just subscribed me medication. So what is it? What is the play here? Which is a further question I want to ask. But yeah, all of a sudden I have insurance now, so I gotta get transferred to a different place, and then I call and find out, because I have to talk to like 4 different people to get an understanding of what the hell's going on. And I think actually a couple months had passed before I even discovered it, because I was like, oh, forget it. It's just too much going on. I can't even worry about this right now. But anyway, I started to dig into it more. I was talking to different people, and they're just saying that, oh, well, they probably had you in the free program, and you shouldn't be in the free program. You should be in the insurance program. And I'm just like, well, who was gonna tell me that? First of all, so they did not tell me that. I had to find out on my own that I was no longer in the free program and I had to be in the insurance program. And so they now put me in the insurance program. I had to get labs again. I had to go to this whole situation, re-register and file information, and then talk to the doctor again. And I tell the doctor, and I said, so hey, I like you, but here's my issue. I have an issue with Atlanta and how they treated me, because it's been 4 months that I've been without this medication, this PrEP medication. I'm supposed to be high risk because I'm a black gay man in Atlanta. And that's what you guys tell me for the last 5-10 years. And all of a sudden I can't get medication with ease. I have a problem with that. So you're penalizing me for having insurance and preventing me from getting a pill or medication that is supposedly integral to my existence, allegedly. And I've been without it for 4 months, and nobody cares. Nobody gives a shit whether I had this medication or not. But my concern is not necessarily for myself, but it's for the other people out there, that somebody that may be 10 years younger than me that may not understand about HIV, how to contract it, what are the issues that you can face with the medication, but also just how you are putting yourself at risk in different activity, just having sex, with someone else that you may feel that is innocent. They may be caught up in a situation where this other person, they may or may not know that they have HIV and they're passing it on to this person. That's 4 months where anything could have happened to that other person. That happened, I'm not saying it could have happened to me as well, but I'm advocating for the person that is younger than me, that is different than me, that may have been subjected to that same situation. So my issue is that you allow somebody of high risk to go untreated for 4 months in this city of Atlanta that's supposed to be, so problematic when it comes to HIV. You allow that to happen, and continue to allow that to happen. Because I did the consultation, got the testing, no one called me about my results. Normally, the old system, when I was uninsured or in the uninsured system, they just submitted in the app. I checked the app. Oh, my results are here. They send an email. Boom. Simple. I'm in the insured part, and now I don't even know what my results are. Did somebody email me? I didn't get the email, but I did a consultation with a different doctor yesterday, and they were just like, oh, well, how are you responding to the medication? I was like, I didn't receive the medication. Where was the prescription? Ain't nobody tell me the medication was ready or nothing. So how do you treat somebody with insurance differently than someone uninsured? I understand that historically, or according to the statistics, that population may be more at risk than maybe I am, as a person that has, maybe better financial resources, that has insurance. But how are you dropping the ball on the insured people and picking the ball up on the uninsured people? I'm just really confused. So my question is this a poor people issue? Is this a wealth issue? Is this a demographic issue? What is the play here? Why are you shoving PrEP down uninsured Black gay men's throats, but I don't see that same urgency in other communities? And I could be wrong, and somebody correct me if you're wrong in the comments if you see this video. But I'm just trying to understand. I'm trying to unpack this situation, because I have an issue with AIDS Atlanta, and I have an issue with any other organizations that handle the situation this way. I just want to understand why I went 4 to 6 months without medication that is apparently so integral to my existence. I want to know.
So this is a question for you, Wally. I've recently come in contact with some people that had no idea that you could contract HIV if you weren't gay. What do you say to people who didn't know, or how do you feel about people that didn't know that anybody could get HIV?
Jesus. Now that scares the hell out of me, to be honest. And that, honestly, is a failure in our education system. Because these are things that we should be talking about in school. We need to be talking about it, honestly, probably in elementary school, because when I was in middle school, a lot of people were already having sex in middle school. So you probably need to talk about it in elementary school, but this is the fallacy in our education system, because that misinformation there is a huge problem, and that's why people are contracting HIV and will continue to contract HIV because of the fallacy in our education system. And also, it's not integrated in their homes because we don't want to talk about sex. We don't want to talk about diseases. But yes, you can catch HIV regardless of who you are. If you're human, I don't care what race you are, what demographic you are, what nationality you are, you can catch HIV. It can happen to you. And in America specifically, one of the highest, and it could have changed, but I'm sure it didn't, to be honest. But the two demographics that has the highest rate of HIV is black gay men or black men that sleep with other men, but also black women. Black women, for a while, had some of the highest statistics for catching HIV. And so that's why it's important that we need to educate ourselves, because this disease, no one hides from it. I know in the 80s that there was a stigma that this was a gay disease because the gay people were dying and all this other stuff, gay, trans, bi, the whole spectrum of it, of course. And that's why it's been tagged as this gay disease, but it's not a gay disease because everyone's impacted by it. So it's important that you protect yourselves against anything. It's not just pregnancy that women have to be concerned about or straight men have to be concerned about. You do have to worry about STDs as well. And that's really kind of cementing my point. Why is PrEP shoved down the black male community, black gay male community specifically, when literally every other demographic is impacted by HIV? Shouldn't PrEP be taught to everyone? Am I in the twilight zone? I just don't understand. If you or anyone that you know felt you were at risk at contracting HIV or were susceptible to HIV at any point, please seek health counsel from either your doctor or a local clinic or healthcare center, because it's very important that you get tested and properly treated for HIV.